Hello everybody, today it is time to add another stone to 2023's Infinity Gauntlet. That stone, of course, is Spider-Man 2, the greatly anticipated sequel to Insomniac Spider-Man from 2018, and obviously me being here talking to you means that I have indeed played and completed Spider-Man 2, so now I'm ready to give you all my thoughts and feelings about the game. You know what's good, what's bad, and what's just an indifferent fact. So get ready for some web-slinging opinions. And don't worry, there won't be any big story spoilers or specifics. All the gameplay footage I'm going to use is literally from the very beginning of the game. Also, if you end up enjoying the video, don't forget to like and or subscribe. But for now, let's talk about Spidey. So probably the most important thing to know about Spider-Man 2 is that it is the sequel to 2018 Spider-Man. What I mean is it is very much structurally still that 2018 game at its base, but it does a lot more than just make simple refinements and tweaks. Everything from combat to traversal has received meaningful strategic additions with the primary goal of increasing engagement. Making the combat specifically more engaging seems to have been priority one, and rightfully so. 2018's combat was plenty fucking fun, don't get me wrong, but it was also a bit unchallenging and kind of brain dead, especially once you'd been doing it for a while. But now in Spider-Man 2, there are a number of new tools for the Spider-Men, as well as new attacks for enemies with specific counters. The best of all of this is the parry system and everything that comes along with it, because now you can't just dodge out of the way of everything. Spamming circle no longer makes you virtually invincible, thanks to enemies now using heavy attacks that can only be parried. There are also new high damage grapple attacks that can't be blocked or parried and have to be dodged. Add both of those alongside things that were already there, like enemies with shields have to be attacked from behind, enemies with melee weapons who have to be launched, and of course the ranged enemies, and some of these combat engagements could get a little bit hairy in the best of ways. There's also the matter of some of the gadgets being nerfed or toned down or just generally thought about better that again helps turn the combat into less of something a lobotomized moron could do. For example, the web bomb is just gone, and that's honestly a good thing. In the last game, the web bomb was like a free elimination of 2 to 3 guys per fight. You just let it off and they're stuck to the wall without even having to try a little bit. So yeah, the combat that was already fun is made even more fun by being made a lot more engaging, and that's to say nothing of some really good boss fights that happened that I won't spoil. But yeah, in my opinion, improvements to the combat engagement are the most significant and valuable change in this game. However, that doesn't mean the rest of the game remained idle. Of course, for traversal, we now have the web wings, which let you glide around the city as well as swing, and there are also strategically placed wind tunnels that make it pretty quick, cool, and fun to get from one end of the city to the other. I played 18 hours before I beat the main story, and I didn't fast travel at all because I didn't want to. Point being that the traversal is really fun. There are even a couple of traversal specific skills that can launch you higher or further into the air, making traversal more fun and convenient. The changes made on the traversal front are not a revolution, mind you, but they are a welcome enhancement. Now obviously these are story-driven action games, so the story tends to have as much weight put on it as the gameplay. So let's talk about the story and the pacing. And pacing not just in regard to the story, but the gameplay as well. So again, not gonna get specific about the story. It's very early in this game's lifespan and I won't spoil it, but I'll start with this. As an overall, I think the game's story might be a little better than 2018, but not by a lot. And there are things that 2018's story did better or had that this story doesn't. There really isn't the emotional pull of the 2018 game here in Spider-Man 2, whether that emotion was the sadness of Aunt May's death or the heart warmth of Spider-Man teaching Miles how to throw a punch. Nothing of the sort is really present here. It's kind of more or less been traded in for more action, more moving parts, and something more overall driven by character presence. It makes for a less movie feeling game and a more comic feeling game. Not that either one's better, I'm just acknowledging something. I also think that this game's main story is paced better, and that's really because near the end of 2018's game, they start to drag it on and pad it out with Miles and MJ stealth sections, and there were just far too many of those. Now, here's a minor, very extremely minor spoiler here about the gameplay. The MJ sections are still here. However, there are less of them, it feels like, and each of the 3 times you do it, the gameplay actually progresses and you gain a new mechanic. And to be honest, in the first game, I wasn't upset at the MJ Miles sections themselves, but they were put in the wrong places and put in too many places. I think here they realized that they had a good idea that works for the sake of variety, but they implemented it wrong in the last game. They've certainly learned their lesson, it would seem. And I'd say it was the right lesson. They didn't just remove the MJ sections because people complained. They saw what was wrong with it and they fixed it. But yeah, there's that tiny spoiler. Now here's something you might want to know going into the game. This is very much a Peter Parker story, despite there being 2 Spider-Men. Miles and his tribulations and escapades are to the side of the main event that is Peter's story. Or at least that's how I felt, that's my interpretation of it. However, true as that is, it's not really a bad thing. In fact, it turns out to be a really good thing. And I think it helps for the story to be more focused in that way with a more clear main character. All in all, I think the way the game is rolled out to you and the pace at which you gain new abilities or new side activities and things of the like is really well done. It won't have you yawning and bored, especially thanks to the new boost in combat engagement. Listen, Spider-Man 2 isn't necessarily taking us to the moon with this one. This isn't the best video game story you've ever seen. This isn't the best combat you've ever felt. But everything is being done at a high level. It's being done accessibly, and almost purely thanks to its combat is being done in a way that outshines its predecessor, even if not by much. If I had to put a number on it, I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. To no one's surprise, it's a really great game. If you ask me, it's probably the best single-player superhero game to exist, and I only specify single-player because Injustice 2 exists, and I think I'd have to think harder about this before I say that. But yeah, Spider-Man's only real competition is obviously Batman, and I think this game edges out Batman's best effort just a touch. Whichever Batman game you think is the best, and let's be honest, it's either Arkham City or Arkham Knight. I'd probably give it to Knight, but regardless, I think Spider-Man 2 is the new champion. But what do you think? Have you played Spider-Man 2? Have you beaten it? Are you currently playing or planning on playing it? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I'm sure you're excited to tell me how stupid and wrong my opinions are. I say go for it. And for those of you who enjoyed this, please remember to like and subscribe. It means a lot. But until next time, I am Waifu Collector. I'm just a normal guy. I like hentai, and I just know the DLC is gonna be all Mary Jane. Goodbye.